Okay, coming back at you here. We've got our first big action in terms of something new here. So we've gotten Tecumseh on the board here. Actually, I'm going to zoom out here to show you. Tecumseh's on the board. A little bit of firing, not much damage. Actually, they did take a shield hit to the front turret from the Morgan Fortress Battery. Minor damage, though, to it. And we've also got the Brooklyn and Octaria on the board here as well. No damage to the forge yet. Tecumseh has just come here into this hex on turn 2 to try to run the mines, or torpedoes, right here. They have rolled a 7 as their challenge. Where are you? There we go. Up there is a 7. And the mine response is a 10. Ouch. It explodes, just like history. It explodes on the Tecumseh. Causes a shield hit of 4 on the water line. That's definitely not good. Then we have to roll on our torpedo attack damage under the mines, and we roll a 4, and that gives us 11 hits. All right, 11 hits. Now let's slide you over here. I want to show you the Tecumseh on their status. So here you can see their status. It's showing with 4 waterline hits on the shields, so that's basically penetrated. Any more hits is going to just pass right through. So we got the 1 hit on the front, and then we've got 11 damage points. Notice total damage points is 12. So we are just 1 away from that. So we've got some choices here already, going back over to our board, of what to do with the Tecumseh. Let's zoom out here a second, because the Tecumseh is now sitting here. 1 more hit means it sinks, becomes a hulk in here. Or do I back them off and allow for the rest of them to come through without becoming a hulk? Because if it becomes a hulk, it becomes another obstruction. So if they obstruct here or here or here, it's a problem. Or do I sit them back here and just keep firing at the Morgan, or at the Fort Morgan and the water batteries to provide support? But anyways, so far history is coming close to repeating. So anyway, stay tuned for the rest of the action, and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, we're back with the end of turn 3 with the Battle of Mobile Bay here with Iron and Oak. So first 3 turns have been quite interesting with the battle. First off, and probably the most interesting, is here is the map. And we can see we've gotten some units on. We've got Brooklyn, Octaria, Hartford, Metacomet, Manhattan, and Winnebago. And then the other big news is that the Tecumseh has actually sunk over here and is now a hulk, for lack of a better word. It's been sunk by a mine. It actually hit a mine, and that caused substantial damage to it. Taking a look at its card, which is right over here. Let me move this down to get rid of some of the glare and zoom in a little bit. You can see that it took some really bad damage. It, if you saw from a short, it actually, the water line was breached. It took 11 damage points on here. Then it was hit by artillery from Fort Morgan, which knocked out its armament, and then added another hit, which actually sunk it. And that caused it to be the wreck that we saw there, the Hulk. Because if you sink a ship on in a shoal hex, and this is shoal 1, there is it becomes a hulk. And that's important too, because with that, any ships moving in here will now be subject to rolling for an obstruction and potentially stopping and getting fouled. So that's going to potentially block up the rest of the monitors, the Winnebago and the Chickasaw. Manhattan was successful. That got through there without a problem, but it still has other obstructions plus a torpedo down the line here that it's got to work through. But that's for the future. So other things that happened, that's the biggest thing from the Union perspective. Manhattan has moved up here instead of bombarding Fort Morgan, and that has had some effect. If we tip down to the Fort Morgan cards down here, the water battery actually took damage from the Manhattan. It actually breached their shields and armors and caused 4 points of damage. One more, and this section will be knocked out. Still another section, of course, in the water battery that's functional. And then on Fort Morgan itself, they were hit by the Hartford, which has come on board here. They were hit with the Hartford over here, and the Hartford is very good because they've got an elite crew, which made a difference. They rolled a 10 on their shot against them, and that bumped it up to a 12, which was, very good. Caused 3 times greater, and that caused a critical hit on them as well. Scored 4 hits on them. Their best battery is now in threat of being knocked out here as well. And of course, there's 3 other batteries. Of course, Fort Gaines is down here as well. So Union has had some payback for the loss of the Tecumseh, but it has still come at a cost. Fort Morgan batteries have still been very accurate in their fire, and the Manhattan has actually taken some damage. I'm going to move you back over here and show you what that looks like over here. So here's the Manhattan. They have taken damage on their their rear turret and their side turret over here. Both of them have been breached, reduced their armor. They've taken an armament hit with a critical hit, and they have 5 hits. Now they have a total of 12, so they're not in the heavy damage range yet, but they are slowed a bit because of that. So we've got to be careful with them, because if they do get into the heavy damage range, then they're going to be subject to running aground, as well as the other obstacles. So Union still is on the tough side of the battle so far. Coming back to the map over here, you'll see that although they're moving along, we're still have a good bit of the fleet that's off map and needs to get onto the map here as well. We're up to we've done 3 turns. 1 turn, the Brooklyn was held up, so the Hartford didn't get on there, so that's why we're 1 group behind. Hopefully this turn Brooklyn will move along, because there's no obstructions up here, which is good. They should hopefully be able to move from this hex over into the next one here. As I point to it, you can't see it over here. And then Hartford will move up, and then Richmond and Port Royal will come onto the board there as well and provide more firepower against Fort Morgan, both the battery and the water battery that's on there. Fort Gaines has been lobbing some shells over here. They're at long range, starting at this hex, these 3 hexes. It's a little tough because Fort Gaines, let me just show you their card. Their batteries are not as strong here. They're 8s and 4s. So, and plus they're at long range, so they're going to get a -2 on their dice rolls. So it's a little bit tricky, although if they do hit, they will have plunging fire because they are at long range. So that could be very interesting to some of the portside ships over here as well as the Brooklyn, because they can be subject to the plunging fire here as well. So that's where we are. Turn 3. We're moving on to turn 4. A long way to go. We got up to turn 30. I will go until all the Union ships get off the board, or we hit to turn 30, whichever comes first, and kind of go from there. So, hope you're enjoying these videos, and stay tuned for the next update. Well, with regard to the sinking of the Tecumseh, I just wanted to relate a couple of after-action report notes about this. This first one is reported by Captain Drayton of the Hartford. He said, about 7:35 a.m., I heard the cry that a monitor was sinking and looked on the starboard bow, saw the turret of the Tecumseh just disappearing under the water, where an instant before I had seen the noble vessel pushing on gallantly in a straight line to attack the enemy ram Tennessee, which apparently moved out to give her opportunity. As our boats could not be lowered by your direction, one was, meaning Farragut's direction, one was sent, which was towing astern of the Metacomet. The vessel lashed to us. The rapidity of our fire, together with smoke, so completely disordered the enemy's aim that we passed the fort with no great injury, loss, or life. That was all of it from Captain Drayton. Pretty straightforward. Kind of a little bit of understanding what happened here. Another passage here was from Captain of the USS Brooklyn, which is a little bit more. I'll just read it and you'll get it here. Captain James Alden, USS Brooklyn. He goes out at the juncture. I observed the ill-fated Tecumseh, which was about 300 yards ahead of us, and on our starboard bow, careened violently over and sinking almost instantly. Sunk by a torpedo! Exclamation point. Assassination in its worst form! Exclamation point. A glorious though terrible end for our noble friends, the intrepid pioneers of the death-strewed path! Exclamation point. Immortal fame is theirs, peace in their names. So, a couple of different accounts of the sinking of the Tecumseh there at the Battle of Mobile Bay. Just wanted to relate those on there as well to give you a little bit of flavor of the battle. So, we'll continue on from there, and hopefully you enjoy. Okay, welcome back. Coming back with another update of Iron and Oak. We're up to turn 6. So this is going to be a recap of turn 4 and 5 on here, because there's quite a bit of action in these two turns. And just want to give you an overview of what that is going to look like here. So let's take a look. Let me tip you up here a little bit and show you what the map looks like. We still see that from the U.S. perspective, there is only the Brooklyn group, Hartford group, that have actually made it onto the board. Brooklyn has not been able to advance up here these two turns. From the monitor's perspective, Winnebago has moved up, Chickasaw has moved on, and the Manhattan has moved on over here, but Manhattan has had some problems. They've taken a lot of damage from Fort Morgan, and the water battery have targeted them kind of almost exclusively, and pretty much nearly have wrecked them. They're up to 10 damage points out of 12. They're running low in the water now, so they've got a +1 draft, and then they've also grounded over here. They didn't explode the torpedo, but they did ground when they tried to move out of the hex here. So that is one problem for the Union over here. I'm not sure Manhattan's going to make it off the board or not. Try to get them up here. Try to get them refloated, try to get them off here, and hopefully they won't get attacked anymore over here. But we've got some developments on that side as well. So from the Confederate perspective, like I said, they've inflicted some casualties, but we've got a bigger issue that has cropped up, namely with Fort Morgan and the water batteries. If we look, Fort Morgan has lost Fort proper has lost 2 sections. A sections were wiped out. You saw that before. They had some damage. They got wiped out. And then D section over here got wiped out here as well from an explosion that happened on a critical hit from the Winnebago. Winnebago opened fire on them, scored a critical hit, scored some damage on them, then rolled for the critical hit, which actually destroyed the rest of that section, caused casualties. There's fire on there, and we get that little burning thing we're going to put up there to show that we've got some damage on there as well. So they're down just to 2 sections. They're still haven't been breached yet, but they're still in kind of tough shape because they've only got 2 to fire at, and there's more Union ships that are coming on here as well. From the water battery perspective, their Section A was knocked out. That had been hit before, as you saw, and then that was subsequently knocked out. So there's only 1 Section B. So both forts are down to 50% of their firepower to be able to shoot, but still pretty potent. There's 3 shots that they can take at the ships. Plus, we've got Fort Gaines over here, which has been taking some, pot shots at them at the Union fleet. But again, they've got some powerful guns, but they've got a -2, so it makes it tougher for them to hit anybody over here as well. So it's been quite a couple turns. We've had a magazine explosion in Fort Morgan. We've had another monitor being hit and wrecked, nearly wrecked, I should say, with the battle. So that's the end of turn 5. We're moving on to turn 6 and beyond, so stay tuned for the rest. Okay, here we go, folks. We've just finished turn 6, 7, 8. About to start turn 9 and here. Quite the bit of action happening here, and I'll show you here in a second. We're about a third of the way through, but things are starting to shake out here pretty quickly, but things are still up in the air, and let me point that out. First off, let's just tip you up here a little bit and show you from the Union Navy perspective. We still have a lot of ships off board. We haven't gotten the 4th line in yet, the Lackawanna and Seminole over here. You can see we've got Richmond in here and Port Royal, but our holdup has been this right here. Richmond and Port Royal have not been able to move up because Hartford and Comet have fouled with the obstructions. Now they can try to pass over here with that, but they have failed to get across here as well. So these have backed up everybody in here as well. So that's been kind of a holdup on this line over here with everything. Fortunately, the other end, Brooklyn and Octaria have moved almost off the board. They're up to a position where they will be probably moving off over there. Bigger story from the Union perspective has been the monitors here. They have been good at attacking the forts, and I'll show you here in a minute. We've got the Chickasaw up here, but over here, this has been the problem. These torpedoes knocked out the Winnebagos. We lost the Tecumseh over here. We lost the Winnebago over here to torpedoes and gunfire from the forts. We still have barely holding on as the Manhattan. They're at a 10 out of 12 hits. They're running low in the water, so they're subject to grounding, and they have grounded, and they've also fouled with the obstructions in the hex. So it's going to be tough to get them refloated, but they may get off. I'm not sure what they're going to be like in the next scenario, but they will potentially get off over there as well. So the Union is struggling here, but we're only on turn 9, so I'm hopeful that our logjam back here with the Hartford and the rest of the wooden ships can resolve over the course of the next 20 turns or less. Now, from a Confederate perspective, this is where it's starting to really tell the tale here. So let's move you back over here and take a look at the fort cards here. So Fort Morgan has really taken some heavy damage now. Water batteries completely knocked out. You can see they've taken both hits on here. This is attributed to the Chickasaw and the Winnebago blasting away at them. Also help from Hartford and the Richmond in terms of silencing this other section B over here. Then they turned their focus back on Fort Morgan, knocked out section B over here with some pretty good firing. And now they're working on section C, which you can see has a shield hit of 3, and they've already started taking some damage. And any type of hit now is going to take damage, and I have a feeling that they will falter, if not fall shortly the next turn or the turn after there as well. So Fort Morgan will be silenced over there. We still have Fort Gaines here that has been shooting. Now it's a little bit tougher because they're long-range shots. Now, one of the things that they did do, and I will show you back over here, I don't know if I can get it in total frame here, they fired on the Metacomet this past turn and scored some pretty impressive hits. They got a couple of lucky hits that caused damage midship and gave them some hit points. Then they scored a waterline hit, again another critical hit, and that scored some more damage points as well as damaged their engines. Now they are lashed to the Metacomet, and in looking at the special rules within the scenario, it looks like they'll be okay. They'll be able to move with the Hartford once they get freed up there, but there's no additional modifier. It would be modified if roles were reversed. If the Hartford was damaged, then the Metacomet would suffer a little bit more. But they'll be okay. But they've taken some damage over there, so hopefully we can get them started again. Moving you back over to the map here to get them moving and up and across over here. We don't have to worry about torpedoes anymore. We lost 2 ships to them. They're all done. Now it's just the obstructions to get by and the firing from what's left of Fort Morgan over here and Fort Gaines as well in here. So that's the wrap up for the end of turn 8. We'll be moving on to turn 9 and see how it goes from there. So thanks for watching. Okay, we're back. Quite a big jump. Last time we were talking turn 9, and we have jumped all the way up to turn 16 now. A couple reasons for this. Big reason is Fort Morgan is been reduced. Both the water battery and the fort itself has been reduced there to nothing. And that's allowed a little bit freer passage, although Fort Gaines is undamaged and is throwing out some pretty good artillery fire at the fleet. A couple things have happened. Metacomet, one of the port side ships, I think I showed you last turn, has taken some severe damage. They're already up to a 9 hit out of 11, I think it is. Yeah, 11 on there. They've lost their stack as well. A lot of shield damage on here. That's all from Fort Gaines primarily. Also Richmond, which is right here. I'm going to tip you over so you can see it a little bit. There you go. Richmond up here has started to take damage. They are now moved into the center of the board, which I'll show you in a minute. and starting to take some damage from those guns. So they're trying to get them off there. But the bigger story is the Union very slow movement on the advance. The Brooklyn and Otara have moved off, but we still have the Hartford, and you can see the Richmond and Lackawanna here. Let's actually zoom out a little bit. There you go. Hartford up here, Richmond, Lackawanna, and Monongahela finally coming on the board. But it's been very slow progress. They have not been getting the rolls to get up there. And of course, that's been keeping them as sitting ducks for the guns of Fort Gaines with plunging fire at them. But it's going on pretty rapidly here. I feel I'll probably be able to wrap this up here very quickly. The turns are now going very fast with the way that the guns are going here, or the way the battle is going here. So it's been pretty interesting, a little bit different so far with the running of the guns. Just looking back here for some more reports, because I gave you a few reports before. I wanted to give you some from the Confederate side. This is actually from Brigadier General R.L. Page, CSA, commander of Fort Morgan. Talks about the Tecumseh. The first monitor, Tecumseh, single turret, was sunk under our guns immediately abreast of the fort. She went down rapidly. Only a few who were picked up by a boat from our enemy, and 4 who swam ashore were now in our hands. Were saved of our crew. So this guy, he is describing that. Then a few other things that I'll talk about later once we get into the second half of the scenario with that. Also, Admiral Franklin Buchanan has a good report on this. He talks a lot about, he knew about both sides in terms of the ships because he had actually been in the USA Navy prior to the outbreak of the Civil War, and gives some good descriptions on that. I'll read a little bit more once we get up to the Tennessee, because he was in command of the Tennessee with that already. But he also describes within this the forts and their battles. I'm just quickly scanning for this here. Yeah, so you're saying the forts put up a good, strong fight, but the USA vessels were too strong for the batteries and were able to run past them without much damage, save the Tecumseh and others. But the wooden ships sustained moderate damage as they passed. So it's kind of what we're experiencing here. A little bit more frustrating to try to get these guys down. They should move quicker, and I wish they would. Gaines has been, their artillery has come in good with some good accurate shots, and has proved to be a thorn in their side as they move along. So let me get to it. Turn 16 through 30, the second half of this, and be back with you. Okay, coming back with the end of scenario 1, 9A of Battle of Mobile Bay. Just wanted to give you a quick wrap up of what happened. Now the second half, as I said in my last update, a lot of maneuvering, a little bit of firing, less firing, so it was going much quicker with everything. Although there's still a lot of hang-ups with the with the ships navigating, and that can be seen here by the fact of several of the ships, the Oneida, Galena, Osprey, Tassia, Monongahela, way over here, wrong way, there we go, over here, and the Kennebec did not make it off the board, so they will not be participating in the next scenario where we'll actually fight the ships in the bay. So quite the interesting battle. Union did very well against the forts, although they did lose 2 monitors, the Winnebago and the Tecumseh, running into mines as they came up here. They did reduce Fort Morgan, both the water battery and the fortress battery, as you can see here on the cards, as well as we were able to take out one section of Fort Gaines and just one section left at the end of the game. But Fort Gaines did provide a lot of fire on the targets, on the ships. Of the ships that were moving up here that they fired upon, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ships that were hit by fire exclusively from Fort Gaines. And even with a long-range modifier of -2, they were able to score some impressive damage. One ship is pretty heavily damaged, the Metacomet. Not sure how they will participate in the next battle, but they and the Manhattan will have some difficulties and probably stay off and just kind of bombard from long range. But with all of this, what that means is that those ships are going to start with some sort of damage when they go against these fresh Confederate ships, the Tennessee and the 3 other gunboats in the next scenario. The other ships, as I mentioned before, over here, the Oneida, Galena, Osprey, Tassia, Monongahela, Kennebec did not make it off, so they will be stuck behind. It won't be part of the action, so it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than expected, so it's going to be a little bit more interesting. So let me take you over here and look at some of the cards and some of the damage that occurred as part of this. If I pull you off here, excuse my hand as I pull this off. So taking a look at the cards, there's the Tecumseh. They were sunk right there by a mine. Same with the Winnebago over here. They were sunk by a mine. We can see the Manhattan is heavily damaged. They've got 10 points of damage on there. Lost 2 crew going in there as well. The only monitor that made it was the Chickasaw. And you see they're fairly undamaged on there as well. Coming back for the wooden ships, Brooklyn took a minor damage. Victoria is fine. Metacomet, as I said, they're another one that's having trouble. They had 9 hits, plus they got a stack. Stack was hit and knocked out. Hartford is still in good shape. And Richmond took some hits. They've got some minor damage. Port Royal, good shape. Seminole took some damage. You can see they've got 2 hits, some light damage. Same with Lackawanna. Monongahela, Kennebec, no damage, but they're not going to be in the next game. Ossipee, same thing. Atassia, Oneida took some minor shield damage, and Galena. So you see these last 6 ships would still be fresh if they were able to participate, but we're not going to have them. We're going to still have 9 ships, but some of them are in various stages of damage. I think we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 that are in good shape, and they've got to go up against the Tennessee. So this should prove interesting. But here we are at the end of scenario 1. A great little scenario. Goes really quick. It's a little bit random, I will admit. There's a lot of dice rolling. Some people don't like that, and some people don't like the randomness there. But there is plenty of decision to be made in terms of how the ships are going to be firing and what they're going to be, how they're going to be running up the channel to get to the next board. Now, the next battle, like I said, is going to be the second half, and that's going to look like this, just to give you an idea of the map. Confederates are going to line up here. The Union is going to come in over here. Same order that they left the board, they will come in over here.
And then I'll have the whole board here to maneuver around. You'll notice the we still have shoals in here too, so we've got to be careful in terms of drafts and heavy damage that occurs, to these ships as we maneuver around. Luckily, the only one that's got heavy damage right now is the Metacomet. Their draft is a 1; they'll go to a 2, and that should not be a factor unless they get stuck going down in here. So we'll see how that goes. So with that, I will wrap this up for the first half of the battle, and say thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the commentary. I will read some more out of these books here for the second half, because a lot of the reports now talk about the action with the Tennessee. That's why I didn't read more out of it for the latter half of it here. And also too, as I said before, if you want some interesting perspective, introductory perspective on the battle, that's an awful good book right there by James McPherson. So hopefully you enjoy, and we'll see you on the next one.